Hi everyone, welcome to Darien Library. Thank you so much for coming out on this beautiful fall morning. Our presenters today are going to be discussing on a panel about busy moms and how to start your own business. And moderating the panel today will be Holly Hurd, who started a business called VentureMom.com. And I'm going to let her take it away and talk more about that. So thank you, Holly.
It's nice to see so many women in the audience interested in small business. God knows with the current economy we need new small businesses creating jobs and income for women. In fact, that's the reason that I started Venture Mom. In my life, I was meeting so many women who wanted to start a new business or a new venture. And either number one, they weren't sure what they wanted to do, and or number two, they weren't sure where to begin. The women I was meeting had left the workforce to raise their children, and they wanted to go back to work. But they didn't want to commute, or they needed to work only 2 or 3 days a week, or they had a passion that they did on the side and they wanted to start a business around that passion. Conversely, at the same time, I was meeting these fabulous women who had created businesses literally out of thin air. So what I do, I started interviewing women, and what I like to cover is the path, and how you get there, and how the idea actually germinated. So each week in my e-letter, blog, and on my site, I cover a different venture mom. I've covered over 100 moms. And they're diverse in 3 ways. First of all, geographically. They're also diverse in what they focus on. They're also diverse in size and time commitment. So those are the ways that it's diverse. But what I found in interviewing the moms over the last 2.5 years is that there are a lot of commonalities that I've seen in the successful venture moms, and I found 5. So the first one is that successful venture moms start a venture around a passion or something that they already do in their life. It's the mom who makes a necklace and a bag and someone says, "Oh my God, I want to buy that, you should sell those." The second commonality is friends and family. If you tell everyone you know that you're starting a venture and you tell them what it is, they're going to want to help you. I mean, frankly, you could start a business with 1 email because you have a network now and it's so easy to reach your friends and family. Third commonality, and I know maybe the MBAs in the audience won't appreciate this, but 98% of the women that I talk with do not have a business plan. They just sort of get started and roll into it. Now, unless you're asking for money, if you're asking someone for money, they're going to want to see a very well thought out business plan. But this brings me to my fourth commonality, which is 98% of the women that I talk with have used little to no startup capital. The fifth commonality is they didn't wait until things were perfect. So those are the 5 commonalities that I have found in successful venture moms, and we're going to see how they tie into our fabulous panelists here. And I want to introduce everyone on the panel now so you can know who we're talking with. First I have Stacy Bucas, who has the wonderful Quintessence blog, which covers art and architecture, interiors and design, fashion, jewelry, books, movies, food, wine, travel, and so much more. Next we have Jennifer St. John, who left a very big job on Wall Street to stay home and be with her children, but she made a little bag for her friends' bridesmaids and showed her friends the bag on Facebook, and before she knew it, she had everyone who wanted the bag, and now she runs the Itty Bitty Bag Company. Then we have Jennifer Cavello, who has Fritabello baby products, and her flagship product is a baby journal entitled My Life. So she wrote her own journal, and she published a blueprint to help other moms and parents write their own baby journals. And last on the panel we have Gwen Tibbetts and Bambi Regal, who are recent venture moms. They were in my feature this week, and they started RT Pictureworks. They both had a background in photography and video production, and one photograph all kinds of events and create videos for athletic banquets, birthdays, graduations, rehearsal dinners, and do a lot of work for corporations. Our first question for everyone is, and this points back to the path to starting your venture. So I would love to hear you talk a little bit about the germination of your venture and sort of how you got started. And maybe we'll start with Stacy.
I started while I was on vacation. I was on Nantucket, and I had, of course, had weeks of posts already lined up of all the things I loved and all the things I was interested in. And I did send out an email to maybe, I don't know, 30 friends to tell them I was starting. And that's how I started it.
So Jennifer, do you want to talk about how you got started and where you are now?
Sure. So Holly kind of shared how I got started with making a clutch for all the bridesmaids, and it was such a thrill for me to make them and see everyone's reaction. I said, you know, we're all going through this big bag phase, and I've never really been a big bag kind of girl. So I decided to make myself a little bag. It was made out of fabric actually from the first nursery that I decorated. And so it was sentimental fabric, and I made it, posted a picture, and lo and behold, the orders kept coming in.
Jennifer, you want to talk about Frutabello and how you got started with the baby journaling?
So my business started in my head on, let's call it November 25th, 1997. That was the day I came home with my son. So I decided that I wanted to create a journal that parents could do this for their children.
So maybe Bambi and Gwen, would you like to talk about what you're doing and how you came up with the idea?
We've been friends for a long time, which has been great, but unaware of each other's real interests. And I think one of the things when people say, do what you love, and we're like, let's do it. And that's the other thing that's the commonality is you've just got, you start.
So photography, making videos has been a passion of mine for quite some time. I really should start a business at this. People seem to like what they do. They have confidence in me. They think that I can do it. I've proven myself. Oh, but I really don't know if I want to do it on my own, And then when Gwen and I finally got together, I'm like, okay, that's the kick in the butt I needed. We're doing it.
You know what, I also find that many women are afraid to put themselves out there with their venture, and if they're going hand in hand with another person out in the world with their venture, it makes it easier and gives them a little bit more confidence. You brought up a very good point, several of you. Computers, for our generation, we didn't grow up with them, and our children spend a lot of time teaching us how to use them. So the technical aspect of starting, whether it's a blog or an online store, or even when computers are your business, I know when I started, I could not even cut and paste a photo until I asked my son how to do it. And now, through the learning curve and just figuring it out as I went along, I now update my own website and can easily move photos around and put together newsletters and the blog. So my question to the panel is, what were the technical issues that you had? What did you have to learn? Who did you go to? How did you learn? And did you learn as you went along? I know, Stacy, you mentioned a little bit of that, but anyone else want to comment on what their learning curve was? Or Stacy, how you figured it out?
Thanks. I'm very invested in social media, and every new social media tool is a learning curve. But you somehow learn it. You can get help from your friends, your kids. You can go, I became friends with actually one of the girls at the Apple store who showed me how to do all sorts of things.
A lot of the venture moms that I interview have products and want online stores. So maybe Jennifer St. John could speak to a little bit about, now I know Etsy, it has to be homemade. So maybe you want to talk about your experiences with setting up your online store in Etsy and how you, or did you have a learning curve in figuring out?
Well, there's definitely a huge learning curve for Etsy and trying to figure it all out, which is why I started teaching Etsy 101, so to give people that jump start.
Social media in the world today, from Facebook to Twitter to now Instagram, which I don't know how to use yet, and Pinterest. I know with a blog, social media is huge. When you have a product, learning how to post on Twitter without saying every time, buy my product, buy my product. Do you want to speak to whoever about what you talk about on Twitter and how it's sort of a soft sell? You talk about one thing, but then they go to your site to buy your bag.
Each piece of social media, it's there's a purpose for it.
Jennifer Cabello, you started a parenting blog that's not about your journal, but you can mention, they get to know you through the parenting blog and appreciate your advice. And oh, by the way, I do sell and offer classes in journaling.
Right. I think it's very much like what Jennifer said, is that people do business with you for 3 reasons. They know you, they like you, and they trust you.
I want to talk about research, and I have 2 theories. Don't do it, because sometimes that can scare you too much when you see what everyone else is doing in your space. And it scares people to know that maybe there are 50 moms who are doing exactly what you're doing and you're not going to be able to compete with them. But my advice in that realm is everyone has their own voice and their own audience and their own clients. The other tenet is do the research, because you're going to get ideas and figure out where you're going to go. So my question for the panel is, did you do research? Did it help you? Did it hurt you? And how did you use it?
Well, because my product is somewhat of a commodity, if you go to Hallmark, you'll see a ton of baby books and baby journals. So I did want to see what was out there. And none of them really represented what the vision I had for a baby journal. So that part was good.
I think the most important part is definitely differentiating yourself, having your own thing.
And what are your plans for the future, for your growth? Or maybe where you are right now is okay because of your kids' ages.
Gwen mentioned, I mean, we've done a little bit of corporate work, but we think too, there's a gala. We would love to be the ones who have produced the video for the gala event, for the fundraising for the gala campaign event that you all might be attending. And that's kind of a challenge and a goal of ours.
Let me ask the panel this. I mean, you all have children and husbands who need you. So how do you balance your obsession, which is your venture and your work, with your life, taking care of your children and your husband?
The kids are fairly understanding and supportive as well, but you know, every once in a while you just have to kind of put it away.
And you just have to plan your days out kind of carefully, you know, so that you know you are lying. You know, the kids are at school or at an event, and you're like, okay, this is my time block, and you just have to stick to that time block.
Leave the laundry, leave the dishes, leave the dog, and say, this is my time to work. I will do that later.
Yeah, you have to be flexible.
But that again is the benefit of having your own business.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So you
Yes.
create your flexibility, and yes, we all could be working for someone else, and then you forego that flexibility. And how, again, when you're thinking about what you want to do, how important is that to you? Some people might not care as much. Some people might not have children at home. But for, I would think, all of us, that was a huge piece of what was going to be important in whatever I did.
Like, how does it make you feel that you have started your own thing for you? I mean, as moms and wives, we get so pulled from so many different, and it's very easy to lose yourself in your world with your children and your husband and the town or whatever you're doing. And the moms that I talk with, they feel a great sense of pride in what they've created. So what would you say has been the biggest benefit in starting your own venture?
I think you get to know yourself a lot better. I think you start to really understand your strengths and your weaknesses a lot more.
How do you feel now that you have created something that is yours and is successful, and how does it make you feel?
It's very validating, it's very flattering.
I was wondering if anyone in the audience, any moms or have a venture that they would like to pitch to our panelists and get advice on what their next step should be.
I'm just curious, especially since a couple of you had Wall Street jobs, how does this compare to what you were making?
But here's the thing though, when you work that 70-hour-a-week Wall Street job, you are outsourcing everything. So at the end of the day, how much money did you really make?
It's important to have clear financial goals, but I don't think it's a good idea to start measuring if you're successful or not if you don't make them. Because it will take, at minimum, 3 to 5 years just to get started.
Jennifer, I think that's good advice, but I'm going to disagree a little bit on the 3 to 5 years. A lot of the moms that I interview are profitable from the first month. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.